All right, Anderson the Spider Silva, one of the most legendary fighters of all time, is scheduled to face the problem child, Jake Paul, October 29th. Phoenix, Arizona. Yes! Anderson the Spider Silva will be putting his legacy on the line against that little shit of a YouTuber. Now, granted, I shouldn't say that. I should not say little shit of a YouTuber. He's a young man. He's in his prime. He loves combat sports. He's a great athlete. He's making tons of money. He's very famous. And he's putting his energies towards a career in combat sports, in boxing. So you can't hate on that. I don't hate on that. I don't.
Michael Bisping has paid me respect.
But I just hope and I pray that the legacy of Anderson Silva does not get tarnished by that little shit Jake Paul.
No.
Because the reality is, that is how it goes down in combat sports. You know, you go out, you have a sensational career. I mean, Anderson Silva is one of the greatest of all time. It's as simple as that. He defended the belt in the UFC 12 times, and the way that he would beat people, the creativity of his strikes, the knockouts that he delivered, the come from behind submissions like against Chael Sonnen in the 5th round. I mean, they truly were stuff of legend, like things out of a movie. The man is like a modern day Bruce Lee, and I have so much respect for Anderson Silva, and that's when I fought him. I had to talk so much shit because I had to take him off that pedestal mentally. Now, what goes up must come down. Anderson Silva was the best of the best for a very, very long time. But I always say it's impossible to stay there. You can't stay on the top of that mountain forever. You know, that's why you got to be smart. A lot of fighters, they stick around too long. There's very few that step away on top. George St. Pierre is one of the few to do that. Now, Anderson, sadly, he did lose 6 in a row in the UFC. Last time out, we saw him get knocked out against Uriah Hall. But I still think Anderson can take a shot. Since he left the UFC, he's had a foray into boxing. 2 fights since he left the UFC. First time went up against Cesar Chavez Jr. And beat him in a great fight, a dominating performance, in a fight that a lot of people expected him to lose. And then he followed that up with a sensational performance against the Huntington Beach bad boy, Tito Ortiz. Now, Tito Ortiz was never known for having the best boxing, okay? Not a bad boxer, a good fighter, a great mixed martial artist, had a fantastic career, but he wasn't known for having the best boxing, you know? But he was known for having a good chin. You know, Chuck Liddell, sadly, when he came to the end of his run in the UFC, was getting knocked out frequently. And you know, it pains me to say that. Tito Ortiz, that was not the case. In fact, Tito was the last person to knock Chuck out. So Tito could always take a shot. But with Anderson, all it took was him covering up, because Tito came out very, very aggressive. Bam, 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 long combination. Anderson, being a tricky old veteran, just waited for him to burn himself out and then stepped aside. Boom, one shot. Put him to sleep through the ropes. The point of what I'm saying is that Anderson Silva appears to still have it. He's still got it. He's still got the goods. And even though Uriah Hall knocked him out in his final fight in the UFC, I think Anderson Silva's got a very, very good chin. Now, Jake Paul's doing his thing. Anderson Silva, of course, ticks all of those boxes what Jake Paul wants ticking. He has an amazing reputation. He's well known worldwide for being a fighter. But he's 47 years old. He hasn't won a fight in mixed martial arts in his last 6. You know, so as I say, this is the perfect scenario for Jake Paul. But is he biting off more than he can chew? Is the problem child, is the gamble that he's going to take backfire? Because it might do. Listen, Jake Paul, he knocked out Ben Askren. Okay, beautiful shot. Knocked out Tyron Woodley, beautiful shot. Knocked out Nate Robinson. The point that I'm making here is that Jake Paul can punch. Okay, that right hand that he knocked out Tyron Woodley with, that was a phenomenal shot. Okay, and Ben Askren didn't pan out in the UFC, but he wasn't known for getting knocked out all the time. All right, granted, he was the victim of the fastest knockout in the history of the UFC. 6 seconds is all it took for a flying knee. But generally, he wasn't getting knocked out. And he got knocked out against Jake Paul. Again, the point that I'm making is that Jake Paul is improving all the time. He's dedicating himself. When you're young and you dedicate yourself, every time you see this person or that fighter in question, they're going to be a new, improved version of themselves. And he's pushing himself to the limit in the gym. He can clearly bang. He's clearly a gifted athlete. He's driven, he's motivated, and he wants to be known for being a fighter, not a YouTuber. That's what's going on here. He's trying to shift the momentum. He wants to be Jake Paul the fighter, because everyone wants to be a fighter. Actors want to be fighters. Fighters want to be actors.
Come on!
So, Jake Paul's trying to take on Anderson Silva. It was frustrating. I was frustrated that he didn't fight this Hasim Rahman Jr. That's the fight that he should have taken. I did a video about this a while ago. I gave him a lot of respect for it. The fight never went ahead. They were talking about weight. I don't buy that one little bit. Dana White had a theory that perhaps it was because ticket sales didn't go well. Who knows what it was, right? But Hasim Rahman Jr. could have weighed in. He could have made weight, and Jake Paul didn't allow him to do so. So now he's fighting Anderson Silva. Anderson Silva recently just got licensed in Phoenix, Arizona. October 29th is the date. What happens in this fight? Well, I just hope and pray for the love of God that Anderson Silva does not get flatlined, right? Jake Paul's got the power. I just went through it. He does. And Anderson Silva has a good chin. When he fought Israel Adesanya, Israel hit him with some flush shots and Anderson smiled at him. When I fought Anderson Silva, I hit him with some great shots again and he took most of them. Granted, I dropped him in the first and I dropped him in the second, but I certainly did not knock him out. And at the end of that fight, my face was an absolute mess. The point that I'm making is that Anderson Silva can take a shot. He's still got it. He can land a shot. He's very creative. He's very sneaky and obviously just knocked out Tito Ortiz and went the distance with Cesar Chavez Jr. I mean, experience cannot be bought. There's no one on this planet that has much experience as Anderson Silva. Now, I hope he makes a ton of money out of this fight. I really do, because he deserves it. Because Anderson Silva is the one taking the risk here. Okay, Jake Paul, if he loses to Anderson Silva, it's like, hey, he lost to Anderson Silva. Yes, granted, some critics might say you lost to a 47-year-old man, but that doesn't matter. Jake Paul's young. He'll be afforded that luxury. He'll be afforded that leeway to say, you lost to a legend. If Anderson Silva loses to Jake Paul, I mean, our pets' heads are literally going to fall off. Mine will anyway, because I'll be devastated. Because Jake Paul doesn't deserve to have a victory over Anderson Silva at 47 years old. Now, why is Anderson taking this fight? I mean, the man loves to test himself. He's a lifelong martial artist. This is part of who he is. It's built into his DNA. And he wants to go out there and have some fun. Now, of course, money is a motivating factor as well. It always has been. But I just feel that for Anderson, I mean, he's made a lot of money throughout his career. I don't feel that money is the factor here. I think it's got more to do with Anderson, just still being that martial artist, still being that warrior. Because certain things don't leave you. I'm very lucky. This video is not about me. I'm very lucky, but it relates. I commentate for the UFC, so I'm still a part of it. If I wasn't a part of it, then who knows, maybe I'd be trying to fight again as well. Anderson Silva doesn't commentate. He's a lifelong martial artist. He's always loved to compete. And now he's gone into boxing and he wants to take on the problem child, Jake Paul. So, who wins? Who wins in this fight? Well, I'll tell you what. There's no way on earth I'm going to sit here and predict against Anderson Silva to lose to Jake Paul. Jake Paul's big. The fight's happening at 187 pounds, I believe, or 185. So that's good. It's good for both men. Jake's a big guy. Anderson's used to cutting weight. Anderson's got the experience, he's got the edge, but with experience comes wear and tear, that comes damage, that comes potential problems with the chin. I don't think that's necessarily a factor here. Jake Paul's young. He's got the boxing experience. He's got momentum on his side. He's got probably more power right now, but he's not as fast. He's not as experienced. I mean, who goddamn knows? But I'll tell you right now, as I said, there's no way I'm going to pick against Anderson Silva. So, October 29th, Phoenix, Arizona. Anderson Silva goes out there. And I hope and I bloody pray, even though I'm not religious, that Anderson Silva gets the job done. I think he will. It's going to be a good one. I'm excited for it, Jake Paul, please, after this one, go out and fight a boxer. Go out and fight a boxer. There's thousands of them. Your weight, your age, in your prime. Listen, this will be a fun fight. And I'll be watching. In fact, no, I won't. I'll be commentating. And it's my wife's birthday as well. But I will be paying attention. I will check the results. I will be very, very intrigued. But please, Jake, next time, can you just fight a fucking boxer? Someone in their prime, please. Anyway, there it is. As you can see, I'm in a hotel room back in Clitheroe, my own neck of the woods. Hope you're all well. Take care. Subscribe. Ring the bell. Talk to you soon.